Hello, YouTube. This is Mahadeva the ThunderWizard. How are ya all? All right. So you and I, collective you and I, are going to take a journey, and we're going to do some research together about a few different things. First thing I want to do is first acknowledge the name of this video, which is Am I a Fake Guru? Am I a fraud? Should you be listening to me? Should you be spending any of your time listening to anything that I do or doing any of the practices that I teach? We're going to take a look at that because a spiritual practitioner has called me out as a fake, a fraud, and a specific kind of fraud, which I didn't even know I was. And you and I are going to take a look at that together. And I think we're going to learn something. I just looked at it a little bit and it was so interesting. In all seriousness, it's like, wow, I would like for that to be true. If I could be a fake one of those things, I like that. So we're going to take a look at that, and we can ask ourselves if we believe that. You can ask yourself, if I teach that specific kind of spiritual philosophy, we're going to learn that together. Before I do that, we're going to take a look at a comment which I find very helpful and I want to take a look at more deeply. As you know, I uploaded a video today because somebody had asked, how do I distinguish between my passions? And I uploaded the video and I shared with you that it's annoying and frustrating because I feel like people aren't getting what I'm trying to say. And I actually try really hard to express this concept of the soul desire. Having said that, I do understand why it's challenging. I can't change the fact that it's a simple concept, but it doesn't mean it's easy by any stretch of the imagination, which is why I've got here in the links, I've got a link to Find Your Perfect Career, and I teach you how to do that. I teach you how to teach others to do that. And if you want a session with me, you can scroll to the bottom of that page, career.thunderwizard.com, and I'll do my best to help you find it. But knowing your soul desire sometimes isn't enough. Then you have to figure out a way to have the power to take action on it. And that's what the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, among other things, that's what it's there to do, to give you the power to take action on that understanding. So, having said that, Thundra Staves Rangel, which is one of my students, and she is a certified Vedic astrologer. You're not a rune reader, are you? I think you're just a Vedic astrologer. But and you're also studying to be a certified distance healer from me as well. Whatever else, forgive me if I've forgotten. And you can go check out her website, thundra.thunderwizard.com. thundra.thunderwizard.com to see all the things that she provides. She's a very dynamic teacher. So she is she's sharing a feeling. And anyway, I'll read it because I think it explains very well the challenge that some people have, and so I'll see if I can address it. She says, in response to my video, How to Determine Your Soul Desire, which again I was responding to that comment of how do we discern between our passions. She says, I think so many of us have struggled with even being able to feel joy or desire for anything because we have been so disconnected from ourselves most of our lives. She goes on to say, I still struggle with knowing what my soul desire is. There is nothing that gives me joy like working with students and doing readings etc. But for some reason, I always have this nagging feeling that I am supposed to have something else that is just for me, that I do totally on my own, and I don't. And for some reason, I feel less than because of that. She goes on to say, I've always envied people who had that one thing they discovered that lit a fire inside of them. For me, the only thing I can identify that does that is working with students. So why do I feel inferior and confused about this after all these years? Edit, she says. You speak about having conflict if you don't know, but I've given up everything in my life to pursue this, as you know. So what could I still be conflicted about? I know this is who I am, but why do I feel like there is a part of me still missing? All right, so a lot of stuff to unpack there. I may not have all the answers to that, but so I sometimes talk about this, and if I'm honest, it's a challenge for me to put into words because I feel like it's really important. And it's also really confusing for people, and it's also seemingly totally contradictory. Because on a superficial level, people will say, well, wait a minute, why, once I've found my soul desire, why doesn't everything just happen really easily? You know, now that I know what it is, why isn't everything wonderful? So as I say, there are two reasons that we come into our manifested reality. We come primarily because the soul wants to experience something which you will only experience through some kind of an action. It's something that you have to take action toward to achieve an experience. And it could be anything from climbing mountains to writing books to being a musician, to, I don't care, building houses, I don't care. As long as it's something that you yourself have to do, you have to put yourself into it, it's something that you have to present to the world. Maybe even if it's just you want to be a monk and meditate in the woods in a loincloth with a begging bowl. You want to live in a cave and meditate for 100 years. If it's the thing that brings you the greatest joy, and perhaps I should start bringing in the word freedom. It's the thing that brings you the greatest joy and the greatest freedom. Now, people often ask me, which is similar to the question I responded to this morning, which was, how do I discern between my passions? People ask, well, can I have more than one soul desire? First off, not at any one given time. Like you can only do one thing at one time. So if you like playing football and writing philosophy, you can't do both at the same time. But you can, in one moment, be fully into that one joy that you have. Then maybe later that day or the next day, you can then write some philosophy. So this kind of question, again, do I have to have just one? Can I have a bunch of... You can't have more than one at any one given time. So that tells me there's a lot of thinking going on. That's okay. Thinking is a sign that there's some conflict and your brain's trying to figure it out. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wondering if you have more than one soul desire. And I don't know, maybe you do. Maybe you have a couple of different ones. For me, I've got a bunch of things that I've really focused on through my life, but I can't do more than one at a time. At one point in time, if you were to ask me, I would have said my soul desire is to live by myself in the wilderness. And I did that. And it didn't last very long. It got boring real quick. But for a little while, it was really amazing. And I thought that was what was most important to me. In fact, for years I thought that. I moved to Idaho and married my now ex-wife. And what I did in my spare time is I took off in my truck. Maybe I got it out of my system. And the great thing about Idaho is you can go up to the mountains there, and there are these logging roads that go for miles and miles and miles deep into the forest, and you can just pull off to the side of the dirt road, and there's this huge river and trees and mountains, and it's great. And I got it out of my system. And I used to need to go up to the mountains and backpack in the Sierras for 2 weeks at a time by myself, at the end of the season, but just before fall when nobody was up there, so I could be in the wilderness by myself. And a lot of crazy stuff happened. But I've got all that out of my system. I wouldn't want to do that now. I mean, I wouldn't mind going and vacationing, but I don't even want to camp. I'd want to have a cabin where I can have a bed and a shower and all that kind of stuff. I can still go hiking and then, so all that's out of my system. But I would have, at that time, I would have said, if I knew the concept of soul desire, I would have said that was my soul desire. Earlier I was an actor, and that was my main thing, but I also directed and I wrote. But those things, directing and writing and teaching acting, were because they were sort of offshoots of my main thing of wanting to be an actor. I would have told you that was my soul desire. Before that, I would have said that my soul desire, of course, I wouldn't have believed such a thing existed, but I would have said it was to be an evangelist, because I was a Bible student and I used to preach. Literally, I was one of those guys that preached in the street. So you don't need to go into such incredible self-flagellation over which one it is. Whatever one it is right now that gives you joy and freedom, that may not be it. There might be something else, but it'll lead you to it. Surfing is the thing that it was the first thing that I really learned how to do and really enjoy. I was 10 years old. When I first went surfing, I was 10 years old, and I spent that whole summer when I was 10 carrying this huge surfboard, because I was this tiny little kid. I was always the shortest kid in school. And I'm trying to carry this huge surfboard down to the beach every day, and I spent every day that summer learning how to surf. By the end of that summer, I could surf. And then when I was 18, I went off to college, and I didn't need to surf anymore. And then I surfed again for another 10 years, and then I went off to Idaho, and it killed me because I dreamed about surfing every day. And then I came back, and this is the one thing right now that gives me the greatest joy and the greatest freedom. I don't know what's going to happen in a year from now. At one point, it would have been the Mao Shan. It would have been the 5 elements. Not the 5 elements, that's only one of them, but the spirit fighting, I was going to do that, and I wanted to achieve the highest level of that. And that was my soul desire then, and I got tremendous joy and freedom out of it. So is there one thing? I don't know. But there's only one thing at any given moment, and your soul knows what it is. You have a conflict about finding it, totally understandable. So I would say, Thundra, that you know what your soul desire is. You've clearly laid it out. You said in all caps, there's nothing that gives me joy like working with students. And you said, but I need to have something that's just for me. That is just for you. I was sharing this with somebody yesterday about teaching. I suggested that this person teach. And they had some misgivings about it. And part of it was, the whole ego trip, which we'll talk about. And I said, teaching has nothing to do with that. Teaching is about you learning. You want to learn something, you go teach it. Because when you put it into words, you're learning it. So what it really means is if somebody's greatest joy is being a teacher, it means that your greatest joy is learning, which is, Thundra, completely selfish. And as you know, that's the end goal, is to find the one thing that is authentically, selfishly just for you. When you're counseling and teaching, you are, of course, releasing all of that energy. Energy's coming through you. It's a shamanic experience. And you're alive, and your soul you're really connected to your soul and to your guides. And as you talk about things, you're learning about them. So it means your greatest passion at the moment is to learn. So I would say you're doing it. And you're doing it very well, which is why I'm proud to tell people to go to thunderwizard.com. All right, so I wanted to just check in with that. All right, so now let's get to the question here. Am I a fake? Am I a fraud? Maybe I am. I've certainly had that. That thought has gone through my head a few times. And the truth is, I am a fraud. And the truth is, everybody is a fraud about something. And you're supposed to be. We could get into that. That doesn't mean that I'm not authentic. But let's get into it. Let's find out. So, this individual came on, I believe it was my most recent live stream. I could be wrong. As you know, when people come onto live streams, as will most likely happen today, I usually end up pulling somebody's covers or responding in my snarky way, or asking questions like, why the hell would you ask such a stupid question, and that's not what you really want to say, and things like that. And people get their sometimes people get their feelings hurt, and I don't blame them. I would probably get my feelings hurt, and I would get angry if somebody talked to me like that. I don't know what to tell you. I'm doing what I believe I'm programmed to do. And if you know anything about Vedic astrology, if you know my chart, you'll know my 10th house Aruda is exactly what I do on live streams. Doesn't mean it's who I am, so it's authentic, but it's a role that I play because it's my job. But it does bother some people. And I believe that I must have stepped on this guy's toes. I remember the name. I don't remember what the question was or what I even said. In any case, this person says, ThunderWizard, you're a fake, and he spells your Y-O-U-R instead of Y-O-U''re, but he means that. He says, ThunderWizard, you're a fake Vedanta Advaitist. If you don't know what that means, that's okay. I don't know what it means either. I'd never heard of that before. But whatever it is, I'm a fake one. I'm a fake Vedanta Advaitist. And then he says, that's faux show. F-O-S-H-O. So he's a hip guy. So ThunderWizard, you're a fake Vedanta Advaitist. That's for show. And then he says, asked you a question the other day and you flippantly just brushed off my questions, talking shit because you got a little Jupiter retrograde in your Vedic astro, as it gives you permission to be a douche to everyone, then pretend to be an actual Sat Guru, or better than those sharing energy with you. A lot packed into that. So he's wrong about why I'm a douche. It's not because I have Jupiter retrograde. I don't got a little Jupiter retrograde. Let's be clear about that. I've got major Jupiter retrograde. I have Jupiter retrograde in Pisces, which is its own sign, the deepest experience of Jupiter, in the 8th house, the house of the unconscious, of the deep under. I mean, you couldn't get more deep than that. Jupiter is sitting there, and Jupiter is retrograde. And on top of that, Saturn in the 6th house is staring right at him. So that isn't a little Jupiter retrograde. That is a major hardcore Jupiter retrograde. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody because it's pretty hardcore. But that's not why I talk shit. That's not why I flippantly brush off questions. I do that because of my Aruda. And I do it because of my 10th house Aruda. So my Aruda is Mars in Libra in the 3rd house. So Mars is not, he's not, what's that word? He's not harmed in that. I forget the word. You know the word. Anyway, he's not harmed in that, but it's not his happy place. Because what's happening is that Libra, which is the sign of Venus, which has to do with making, friends, of creating balance, of healing. He doesn't. That's not his forte. And I got to tell you, this really is me. Mars is he's a killer, assassin, warrior. That's what he does. But he's sitting in the third house, which is great for him because that means it means the hand. So anybody that's got Mars in the third house, it's just to say don't get in a fight with him, because if they connect with you, they got Mars sitting in their hand. Pop, he's going to knock you out. So that's what Mars wants to do in the third house. But sitting there lording over him in my chart is Venus, the peacemaker in Libra. And Mars is like, you got to be shitting me. I can't go kick people's ass. I mean, I've got this guy's hand loaded up, and you're telling me I can't ever use it. I have to be a peaceful person my whole life. So he's not all that happy there. So because it's the third house, it's communication. When he communicates directly. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. And Mars in the third house tells you, you know what your fucking problem is? Who's the chef that always gets pissed off? I forget his name. He's got Mars in the third house. Now you know that guy. The Hell's Kitchen guy. I forget his name. He's got Mars in the third house, and he's respected when he climbs all over people and humiliates them. But it's because he wants them to be their best. And I'm the same. I want you to be your best. I've already explained that. Anyway, so he says, you flippantly brushed off my questions talking shit because you got a little Jupiter retrograde in your Vedic astro, as it gives you permission to be a douche to everyone, then pretend to be an actual Sat Guru, or better than those sharing energy with you. So what he's saying is that this is him talking, when he went on there, he felt as though he was sharing energy. And so that feeling that he had of sharing energy, I should have seen that and rewarded that, even if I completely disagreed with whatever he was saying. So part of that is just kind of narcissistic, because we're all doing that. So let's all grow up. You're sharing, they're sharing, I'm sharing. We're all sharing energy. So you can get over yourself a little bit and just accept that we're all doing that. You're not the only one sharing energy. But I feel for him, because he feels like when he shares energy and he doesn't get seen or heard, it's obviously very hurtful to him, and I feel for him. It's not my fault, but I feel for you that happens for you. He goes on to say, I'm a teacher with a bad attitude, but not enlightened, realized, or anything of that nature. And I couldn't agree more than that, because he says a teacher with a bad attitude. I don't disagree with that. I had a bad attitude all day. And I have known for my bad. I'm telling you, I wake up with a bad attitude. When I'm asleep, when I dream, I don't know what people dream about, but in my dreams, I'm getting my ass kicked. In my dreams, my unconscious mind is telling me what an absolute total loser I am. And when I wake up, I feel like a piece of garbage. I'm not one of those people that wakes up happy and chipper. I do not like me. I have to get myself together and learn how to put all that garbage away. I don't know why I have that. I mean, I could tell you some reasons why, but so he's absolutely right. I'm a teacher with a bad attitude. Yep. And he says, but not enlightened. No, I'm not. I don't know why he thought that I think I'm enlightened. I'm not enlightened. To be honest, I've never met anybody who was. So even if there is somebody out there who's enlightened, I'm not the guy. If you want a teacher who's enlightened, please go somewhere else, because I'm not him. But as you know, my definition of enlightenment is having all of your thoughts, all of your feelings, all of your impulses, all of your desires, positive or negative, happy or sad, loving or hateful, having all of them, and experiencing them and feeling them without judgment. And then, in that chaos of all of those conflicting, intense feelings, if that's how you're feeling, in all of that chaos, then you still have to have the awareness to know what actions to take that benefit both you and the rest of the world. If you can do that, you can say that you are in a state of enlightenment. Now, he says, I'm not enlightened. That's true. A lot of the times I'm not. Sometimes I get, I think, some enlightenment. Sometimes I have an awareness of all the crazy, horrific feelings that go on inside of my very unenlightened body. And I think sometimes I have the awareness, even when I'm filled with sadness, depression, rage, horrible feelings that nobody wants to have, I still have the ability sometimes to go, what is the most constructive action for me and the rest of the world? And sometimes I'm able to follow through with that. Sometimes I fail. You guys have seen me. I have videos on here and on my channel where I am in full failure, big time. And I haven't erased those videos. And the reason I haven't erased them is because I don't want to give the impression that I'm anything other than human. And that if I can do it, you can do it. I've got videos on here where I go on, and I give people problems for thinking that there's an elite cadre of globalist corporate elites trying to destroy the world. And I make fun of them. And now I'm one of those people. I say that now. So I haven't gotten rid of those videos. You can go and see me make fun of myself now, my future self. I'm definitely not enlightened. And if I ever do become enlightened, I think I will stop being human. I will phase out of existence. So if any point in time, maybe I should go and edit this, this little movie and put it up here. But if at any point in time that I'm talking to you and I start to fade out of existence, then you'll know that I've achieved enlightenment. Unfortunately, though, my videos will have to stop at that point. But no, I'm definitely not enlightened. He says, I'm not realized. That's true. I'm not fully realized. I'm working on it. I want to be, but I am definitely not fully realized by any stretch of the imagination. And he says, or anything of that nature. So he says, I'm a teacher with a bad attitude, but not enlightened, realized, or anything of that nature. And I completely agree with you. I'm just a human being. I'm a screwed up human being, and I fight like hell. I'm not kidding you. I fight like hell every day to get through this life. Let me put it to you. Why do you think I make videos about not being a victim? Why do you think I make videos about overcoming unbelievable karmic challenges? Why do you think I stress that all of your challenges and karma in life is your own creation and your own choice? It's not because life is easy for me. It's because life is real. I would not wish anybody to sit in my brain. I would not wish that on my worst enemy. I'm not the only person. I'm not competing. Other people have it worse than me. But the reason I teach that is because that's what I have to do on a daily basis, or it'll kill me. My life depends on it. So absolutely 100%, I agree with this individual, and you should listen to him. He is absolutely correct. He goes on to say, just unnecessary egoic tension. Yep, I agree with that too. And then he tries to hurt my feelings, but I'm such a narcissist it doesn't bother me because I honestly don't care. But he says, I've removed a lot of my videos of yours queued up to watch later. No thanks. Which is sad for him. Because if he lined up those videos, it means that there was something in those videos that he wanted to listen to. There was something that he saw in my videos before he interacted with me personally that he liked and that was helpful for him. So let me give you a tip about teachers. First off, Teachers are everything he just said. There is no teacher on the planet that isn't that. That is, every teacher is unenlightened, unrealized. They have whatever other selfish, crazy, weird things that they got. Everybody's different, but they got some serious flaws, every single one of them. But teachers, even if they're narcissistic frauds, like Carlos Castaneda, I talked about him, Osho, aka Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. I could name some people who are alive, but I won't. John of God. These teachers, even the narcissists, the narcissist thief frauds, are still, some of them, brilliant channelers of wisdom. So the way you should treat a teacher is this. Don't worship them. By all means, do not do that. I mean, you can in the beginning. If you idealize them, that's fine. Eventually, you'll have to grow out of that. But that's okay in the beginning because it creates a bond with your higher self, because the teacher is a symbol for your higher self. If there's something that I say or something that I've taught or something that I do that makes you feel like you're empowered and you see me a certain way, I'm very happy for that, and I would not do anything to take that away from you. Because that means that your higher self has tricked you into finding a symbol that you're willing to submit to and learn from. Because you're not learning from me. You're learning from your own higher self. And I'm telling you what your higher self already knows. If it strikes you and it makes your life better. Some teachers don't make your life better. Cult leaders sometimes don't. But a true teacher will free you and make your life better. But it's not because necessarily anything that they are. It's because of you. You create every true teacher. You noticed I've talked about frauds and teachers who betray. This is a life lesson for me. I don't wish that on you. I'll do everything in my power not to betray you. At some point, I might disappoint you, and I'm human, so who knows what I'll do. But I'll do my best never to betray your trust if I can help it. But my lesson in my life, because of my retrograde Jupiter, as it turns out, because of the lessons in my life, all of my teachers have betrayed me, except for one. And even then, even though he hasn't betrayed me, he's disappointed me because he hasn't lived up to my standards of him. He's human. But he has never betrayed me. But all my other teachers have betrayed me, and in sometimes really horrible fashion. And that's because that is a lesson I need to learn. I need to learn to look past teachers. And the thing that you can hold on to is this. When it comes to a teacher, you should always be asking yourself, is there anything that this teacher has that I can learn from? And then you selfishly use that teacher for your own empowerment. I did that with my teachers, and I stayed with them up until the point where I got to the question and I honestly answered, because I was, my teacher was really he was crazy. He was really making my life crazy. And for years I would ask, is there anything more he has to teach? And the answer would be yes, and say, okay, I'm going to stick it out. And I would be the good, faithful student. And then at one point I asked, is there anything more this teacher can teach me? And I honestly said no. Now, it didn't mean that I'd achieved what he's achieved. It just meant there was nothing more he could give to me that would help me on my path. It was now time for me to go take all the tools that I've been given and go on my path. Now, I'm a good student. I never walk away from teachers. That experience, I was his student for life, and so I was there to serve him the best I could as a student. But inside I said, I just wish he would leave me alone. I didn't say that to him, but I thought it to myself. And you know what happened? I published Celestial Qigong. And even though he gave me permission to do that, something happened. It pushed some button in him that really bothered him, and he cut off all contact with me. So I got exactly what I wanted when I said, I just wish he would leave me alone. And he did. Actually, I thought, I just wish he would disappear. And he did. But up until that point, I used him to learn what I needed to learn for my empowerment. And as long as he had something that I needed, I stayed, and I was a good, faithful student. So that's the way to use your teachers. And this guy is right. And the sad thing about it is that he didn't have the smarts to be selfish enough to do that. He thinks he's hurting me by not watching my videos. I have no idea. It's not like I'm lying in bed. Somebody just deleted my video out of their favorites. No, I don't know. He's not paying my bills. Him watching or not watching a video does not pay my rent or buy my food or pay my gym membership or buy surfboards. None of it. He's only hurting himself. He thinks he's hurting me because because he saw my humanity. Let's just assume for argument's sake that he's right. He saw my humanity and it offended him and hurt him. He felt betrayed by me. He felt put down by me, whatever it was. What did he say? I brushed off his questions, and I was a douche, and that I think I'm better than those sharing energy with me. He's talking about himself. So that's obviously him. He felt as though he was sharing his valuable energy with me, and I treated him like a douche and dismissed him, and I'm sure I did. I do it all the time. But you shouldn't let that stop you. If I have something, Carlos Castaneda has stuff that I love some of his stuff. I don't know anything about Osho. But the teachers that I learn from, I repeat things that they said all the time. I teach what they taught me all the time. And I'll never be able to repay the things that they've given to me. So that's how you should use teachers. If this guy were to ask my opinion, I'm sure he's not. But if he did, I would say, okay, so don't ask questions on my channel because I'll do that probably to you. But if there are videos of mine that benefit you, you should watch them. Not for me. I could care less. For you. You're not hurting me by not watching videos you wanted. You wanted to watch them. You put them up and lined them up in your channel, and now you got rid of them because you're trying to get back at me for some. And it's not gonna. You can't get back at a narcissist. You can't do it. I don't give a crap. All right. So now what I want to find out is he says that I am a Vedanta Advaitist. I think he's got that flipped. So I didn't know what that was. I went, oh, I'm a Vedanta Advaitist, fake Vedanta Advaitist guru. I didn't know what that was. But I was impressed that he knew that. I'd never done that. Here's the truth. I've never studied the majority of the stuff that I talk about. I haven't studied formally. I've done a lot of my own research. I do know what I'm talking about a lot of things, but it's not necessarily because I'm able to read something and then, barf out what somebody has said. It means that I've gotten in there because of my retrograde Jupiter in the eighth house. I go in there and I only teach what I myself can prove. If I can't prove it in my life or prove it energetically, I don't teach it. And if I can't prove it in my life or experience it, I don't practice it. For instance, Buddhism. I know about this much about Buddhism. Why? Because it's just way too intellectual for me. These deep, discussions about the nature of the self and is there a soul and, what is the true self? It just bores the crap out of me. How do I use that information to have a better life? I have no idea. Give me some energy I can connect to. I'm an energy junkie. And give me something my body can connect to. Oh, you've got a meditation? What, sitting there emptying my mind? I can't do it. bores the crap out of me. I can do it after I've done the spirit fighting energy, when I've done the spirit fighting practices for an hour. So much energy is in me, I go into a state of emptiness, then I can do it. But it has to be something I can physically touch, taste, and experience, and then prove in my life. And if I can't do it, it's useless to me. So let's find out if I'm an Advaita Vedantist. That's what he meant to say, I think. So I'm just looking at Wikipedia here. So if you want to read it along with me, we can find out if I am an Advaita Vedantist. All right. Advaita Vedanta, originally known as Purushavada and as Mayavada, is a Hindu sadhana. Sadhana means spiritual practice. It's a Hindu sadhana, a path of textual exegesis and spiritual discipline and experience. I don't know what the hell textual exegesis is, but I don't know that I do that. Maybe I do. And spiritual discipline and experience. So I do those things, spiritual discipline and experience. I'm all about that. So far, I'm this. The tradition uses concepts such as Brahman, Atman, Maya, Avidya. So Brahman is the loose translation of Brahman. Brahman is God. But it doesn't mean God in the monotheistic way. It means Brahman is the undecipherable, everything. We don't get it, so the best we can do is we call it God. So that's one concept. I'm not against that concept. I'm a little bit leery of it because it reminds me of monotheism, but I understand it's not. It goes far beyond that. So the concept of Atman, which is the soul. Let me see, is that what Atman is? Yeah, it's the universal self. So soul is a pretty good translation. Not little soul, but big soul. So Brahman, Atman, Maya, definitely I talk about that all the time. We live in this creation. This creation is Maya. Every creation is Maya. Is an illusion, and it's a beautiful illusion. Just talk to Freja. She'll tell you how beautiful and spiritual this wonderful creation of three-dimensional universe is, and what a privilege it is to be in this Maya, this beautiful illusion, the same way you get lost in a beautiful painting, or the same way you experience a beautiful meal. I'm going to drink some fruit juice here. Such Maya. Avidya, which means ignorance. But I think it means it means ignorance, but I think what it means is no knowledge. So beyond knowledge. Maybe I'm wrong. That's how I would interpret that. And meditation. So according to this, Advaita, which means non-dual. Let's look at, Advaita. So Advaita, literally non-secondness, usually rendered as non-dualism. You hear me talk about being trapped in the dualism of your intellect. So far he's right. I believe in non-dualism. Often equated with monism, which I'm not sure I like that because that sounds like monotheism, but it means like everything, the oneness of everything. Yeah, we'll see if I like that or not. Moksha, liberation, I believe in that, is attained through disidentification from the body-mind complex and the notion of doership. So that's true. I'd say if I were to achieve enlightenment, I would phase out of this body. I just said it earlier. So far he's right. I believe in that kind of liberation. Moksha is attained through disidentification from the body-mind complex and the notion of doership, and acquiring vidya, which is knowledge. Literally, vidya comes from the Indo-European word to see. So what is a wizard? Wizard comes from that same root. Vid, wi, means to see. A wizard is he who sees. A wise art. Wise means one who sees. You know, there's wise and then there's clever. Clever is somebody who figures things out. Wise isn't necessarily somebody who figures things out. A wise person is somebody who sees. Vidya, video, to see, to view. In English, view, to see. So vidya, they translate as knowledge, but it really means to see into something. So moksha is attained through disidentification from the body-mind complex and the notion of doership and acquiring vidya of one's true identity as Atman Brahman. I totally buy into that. That you're true, what do I say? That you are God. You created this universe. That's Atman Brahman, the self God, God of everything. That's your soul is Brahman. Your soul is God. I'm totally one of that. So far he's right. This is an awesome philosophy. And I wouldn't have known that I believed this if this guy hadn't told me that. So I've come to this belief not because I knew anything about it and read up on it and said, oh, I'm going to be one of these guys. It's because my experience through my filter of whatever karma and whatever else I am, my experience has brought me to those conclusions. And how awesome. That means I didn't make this stuff up. For those of you who don't know, this is how you research your beliefs. So a lot of the things I've said, I know that it echoed a lot of things that are similar in Vedic Hinduism. There's some things I don't vibe with, that is like the typical knee-jerk reaction of Hinduism, which says that your karmas, your sins, your mistakes force you. Even Hinduism says that. I mean, Buddhism says that. They pull you back and they force you to be reincarnated. And I say, what a bunch of nonsense. So I totally reject that. I believe we chose to come here, we weren't forced here. So that just, again, that's because that belief has made my life better. My life is better with that belief, so I choose to believe it's true. Let's see, what else? Moksha is attained through disidentification from the body-mind complex and the notion of doership and acquiring vidya of one's true identity as Atman Brahman, self-luminous. I like that. Svayam Prakasha. I guess that's the Sanskrit. Svayam is self. I guess Prakasha means luminous. And I believe that too. I know for a fact that's the case. When I left my body and I went to what I thought was God, which I now believe was my soul, it was a light that was self-illuminating. And I believe that's who we are. That just like the elves, elves means the shining ones, the ascended masters, the bodhisattvas, the self-illuminated. I believe that. I think that's absolutely true. Knowledge of one's true identity as Atman Brahman, self-luminous, awareness or witness consciousness. I don't know what that is. What is that? Witness consciousness, pure awareness that witnesses the world but does not get affected or involved. I like that. I got nothing against that. So far, he's 100% right. Upanishadic statements. The Upanishads are scriptures. After the Vedas, they're moving now more towards Hindu with the Upanishads. Upanishadic statements such as Tat Tvam Asi, that you are that. That's pretty big to unpack, but I do like that. destroy the ignorance of vidya regarding one's true identity by revealing that Atman is non-different from immortal Brahman. 100% me. So this guy was right. This guy thought he was going to hurt me with his statement. And all he did was he showed me and put it. So now I know what to say. If people ask, what is your view of the universe? I would definitely say, oh, my view of the universe is Advaita Vedanta. I'm an Advaita Vedantist. Who taught you that? Some guy on YouTube that was trying to hurt my feelings. I could keep going on and on and on. It says Advaita Vedanta is the oldest extant tradition of Vedanta. Well, that is definitely, I love that, because what do I say? I love practices and teachings that have an unbroken connection into prehistory. So he says it's the oldest extant tradition of Vedanta, which is the Vedas. So right there, I mean, this guy was 100% right on. I'm not a guru. I am a fake. I am a fraud. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've got a bad attitude. I'm not enlightened. And I'm a Advaita Vedantist. I'm a non-dual wisdom seeker. Absolutely true. All right, I could keep going and going and going, but I'll have to look at this some other time and learn more about this. Yeah. Anyway, so there's that. What do you guys think? Am I a fraud? Am I a fraud? I wonder. Okay, so I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. This is a question and answer. So I'm inviting you, as you can see, with love, I'm inviting you into my home. This is my home that I'm living in. I'm inviting you in here. This is my home where we have an informal lecture. This is my lecture class. When I'm done lecturing, then I open it up for questions. So if you have an honest question, which means that you want to know something that you think I know, not a passive-aggressive way of throwing your opinion out there, but if you have an honest question, you can ask it. And you do that by writing the word question in all caps, and then just writing your question in normal upper and lower case. And I will do my best to answer it, but bear in mind, I may say something that makes you feel like this guy did. So if you don't want me to upset you, offend you, hurt your feelings, then listen. And I'm also interested in your honest feelings. So a feeling is not an opinion. It is, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm grateful, I'm confused, etc., etc. So let's see what we got here. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says, hello, you should check this guy out. This Vincent guy, he's definitely not a fake guru. He's the real thing. So you can go check him out at vincent.thunderwizard.com. He is one of my certified astrologer teachers. He's got a bunch of other stuff I don't even know about. You'll have to go to his website to check him out. Aquarian Light says, I'm authentic. Well, thank you. So now we've got two opinions. One says I'm a fraud. One says I'm authentic. And both of those opinions are about as meaningful as who the heck knows. But I appreciate the vote of confidence. Agent of the Universe question. My sole desire is to be a mail carrier, but there's a lot of resistance like money issues and other setbacks. How do I push through to follow my soul? So push through, if what you mean by push through is take action, you just do it. You just do it. Your resistance is your resistance. You just do it. I sat there today and I was looking at, I was doing incline bench and I really wanted to wipe myself out. So I looked at what I normally lift and I saw the next weight up and I just went, I don't know if I can do it. So I just had to do it. I don't know if you're going to pull it off, but you're not guaranteed that you're going to get what you want. You're guaranteed that if you go after it, you'll be given all of the resources that you need. So push through it. I don't know how you push through it. You have all of your thoughts, all of your feelings. You can tell yourself, you've heard me say this before, but it's my favorite positive affirmation, which is even though I have this feeling, I thoroughly and completely accept myself. Even though I have this feeling, I thoroughly and completely accept myself. I don't use any other affirmations but that. Mantras I do, but affirmations, that's the only one that I do. Even though I have this feeling, I thoroughly and completely accept myself. So you can try saying that to yourself before you take action, before you get on the net and find out how do I become a mail carrier, before you send in your application, before you go and sit and interview. I don't know. Just do it. Don't try and get rid of the feelings. Just do it. So that's how. I don't know how else to do it. If anybody else has any other tricks on how to get through uncomfortable feelings to take action, feel free to talk to them about it. But I just do it. I just go, yep, I don't like it, but I'm going to do it. And I just do it on a good day. Gisclepios, Sadguru is a person, but it's actually a type of guru. So Sat Guru, so Sadguru, SAD, that's not really how it's spelled. It's Sat Guru. Sat means truth of essence. So when somebody is a Sat Guru, it means that they're a real teacher. So he wasn't trying to compare me to the actual guy who has the name Sadguru. That's just his name, just like my spiritual name is Mahadeva. It doesn't mean that I am physically I'm about to say this, but I can hear Mahadeva telling me that's not right. You are me. But I'm obviously me, but that's my spiritual name. So Sadguru is his spiritual name. It's not who he is. And please don't trash other teachers, okay? Please don't do that. I don't have anything against that guy. There are some things that I don't agree with or understand, but he says a lot of decent things and he helps a lot of people. So let's not badmouth other teachers. Agent of the Universe, Chef Ramsay, yeah. Chef Ramsay, that's the guy who's got Mars in the third house. So you look at him, you look at me, what do we have in common? We do that. Gordon Ramsay, yeah. Let's see. So Thai Mad Dog, if you have a question, you see below you, Flux Pavilion, thankfully is doing what I ask. You write the word question in all caps so that I can see it, because lots of people come on here and they just put a bunch of noise and I have to scroll through it. So if I wasn't looking hard, I wouldn't have seen that you had a question. The other thing, don't take this personally, but people who are new tend to ask me really general and boring questions. I want you to ask questions that have depth to it about things that I teach. So the only way you're going to know that is if you spend time watching my channel and learning some of the things that I teach. Then you'll have questions that I'm going to want to respond to. So your question, what's your opinion on dreams? I mean, that's just, think about that question. What's your opinion on oranges? Well, they're a fruit. I don't have an opinion on dreams. They exist. What do you mean, what's my opinion on dreams? Think through your question a little more deeply. You say, I've become so fascinated with them, I don't understand how the main science explanation is they are total random and really meaningless. Okay, so you see, that helps me because now I know why you're asking. But again, what is it you want to know specifically? Have a deeper, more specific question about dreams. I'm not saying I'd have an answer, but give me something to sink my teeth into. You want me to know what are they? What are dreams? All that kind of stuff. But again, is this something that I talk about a lot? You might be better off asking me about shamanic visioning, shamanic journeying. But anyway, I don't have a deep opinion on that. You've shared your opinion. which is that you see them as something that's more than just random, meaningless. So that's your opinion. You feel that dreams are more than that. So you have every right to that opinion. It's not really it's not my favorite kind of a question, but anyway, welcome to the channel. I hope you find what you're looking for here. Flux Pavilion says, question, is there a way to avoid the weakening of the body when we send energy up the spine into the head center? Who said that I've never taught that. Find one video where I've said that when you send energy up the spine into the head center, and who told you that that's something that I do? When have I ever even taught anybody to send energy up into the head center? I don't know where you're getting this stuff, but Flux Pavilion, is that anything that I teach? I want you to ask stuff that I teach. And that's an assumption that the body is weak. I don't know what you're talking about. I have no clue. I mean, I've done, there are things, I teach it. If you go up to ThunderWizard.com and you look for it, you'll find a thing called Sat Kriya. And I teach you how to do exactly what you're saying, but I don't know what you're talking about. But when I do it, it doesn't weaken the body at all. In fact, you get this rush of energy from it. So I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't accept your assumption. I'm not saying if that's your experience, I can't talk you out of that, but that's obviously doesn't sound like something I've taught or an exercise that I've taught. If that's happening without knowing the specific technique, but if that's happening, you're doing something wrong. If you don't have a technique and you're just sort of imagining it, again, I don't even know if we know that that's really happening. I don't know what's going on. So you got to give me more than that. Where did you come up with that? Who taught you that? Why is that your experience? And why are you shoving that down my throat? That's something that has to happen, because that's not my experience. All right, Ty Mad Dog keeps talking about his opinions. Congratulations. I'm only interested in questions. Let's see here. But he doesn't know any better. He's new to the channel, so I hope he doesn't take that personally. All right, somebody else has an opinion. I'm not going to talk about that. Let's see. So people are saying nice things about me. I appreciate that. Caleb Spears, honest feeling. It makes me happy to see you looking healthy and well after your bout with illness. You're not the first person to say that. I had COVID for 2 weeks. I wasn't all that sick. I was a little scared because I didn't know, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how long, they kept saying, the propaganda is that that if you get Omicron, you'll only be sick for a few days. And that wasn't the case for me. I mean, I could function. If I had a day job, I would have been able to go back to the day job after 3 or 4 days, but I was still sick. I could feel it. I was sick. And it lasted almost 2 weeks and then it vanished. And now I feel better than ever. So I'm with you, and I'm glad that you are happy to see me looking healthy. I was more than just sick. I was really depressed. It was horrible. I had just gotten back from Australia, which was still is. I mean, I got sad about it today. I went and checked out the local beaches and I got sad because it's just such a different place than I was so happy where I was. And I plan on going back there. I don't know when or how. I mean, Australia is going to have to pull its head out of its ass. It's completely backwards and has no idea what the hell it's doing. And I couldn't even go there even if I wanted to right now. But yeah, I was so sad to walk away from, that and coming back here. And I got sick with COVID, and I came to Florida not knowing where to go. Bear in mind, I had 3 months to figure out where I was going to go. I realized that I had 3 months to figure out where I was going to live in the world. And I'm unvaccinated, and I had no idea where a safe place was. And I thought, I'll move to Florida because Florida is about the same latitude as where I was in Australia. and it's about, it's warm, it's tropical and all. It'll be a warm winter. I thought I was going to move somewhere where it was going to be like 75 degrees and warm and sunny. And this was one of the coldest winters I've ever had experienced in my life. I mean, I lived up in the mountains above Los Angeles. I lived in a cabin in the woods. And yeah, it would technically get colder because a storm would come through and it would drop down and it would freeze and it would snow. But then the sun would come up a week later and it would be in the 60s, and the sun was shining. But it was for a month. It was between, like, during the day, between 40 and 55 degrees. Every day, every single day. In fact, today was the first day that I could walk around in a t-shirt and not feel cold. The first day, all winter. It's just like, nobody told me that Florida was this freaking cold. But anyway, I was very depressed about that. Anyway, thank you for, I'm glad that you're happy to see me looking healthy and well. My apologies for digressing. Atham Animist, question. Is it possible to defeat demons in your dreams? Yes. And or use spirit fighting to resolve unresolved issues in dreams? Yes. In fact, if you do what you see me, I'm doing spirit fighting right here. I'm doing portions of different sets. That's actually the immortal set, which is really the one that's used for fighting demons. But even the 5 element sets, if you do those and do them regularly, your dreams will change, and eventually you'll start doing it in your dreams. And you'll be able to, you'll have dreams where you just all kinds of energy and your hands will go super fast, and especially when people start training with me physically, which I'm thinking may happen sometime soon, your dreams are going to start changing. So the short answer to your question is yes. Yes, you can. Atham Animist, I'm asking because I had a vision after getting high once while sober. What? How does that happen? How do you get high while being sober? Anyway, you'll have to explain that one to me. And I wrote out defeating family's demons in dream realm. Could be just codependence or something, but I'm curious. Anyway. I don't know. I'm not quite sure I understand that part of it, but yes. Luis says I'm an authentic man. I appreciate that. And then there's some spam I got to get rid of. A spam bot. Maybe I should just stop wasting my time. It's just a bot dumping a bunch of weird things. Atham Animist question. I got high while having a deep conversation with my mother about what was happening in 2020. This happened in 2020. I don't know the question. Are you just following up on you got high? So, all right. So you really weren't high, meaning you were high on drugs, but you were talking with your mom and you went into a trance state. Got it. Sud Sayozdi says, you're not a fraud, just an egoist, which is a good thing. I got to tell you, I don't know. I mean, I am. I would be lying if I didn't say I didn't have a big ego, whatever the hell that means. But I don't have an ego about teaching. I don't. This is my business, so I invest in it. And I work hard at it because this is how I pay my bills. By coming on here and teaching and spouting my opinions on stuff and coming up with things to talk about and, sharing the things that I've learned and putting them in videos and all that kind of stuff and charging money for different packages and all that. But there's plenty of free stuff on here. There's probably more free stuff than paid stuff. But I honestly don't have an ego about this. I don't care if people like me or dislike me. If I was independently wealthy, I don't know that I would even do this. I'm sure I would, just because I would need to get it out. But I really don't have an ego about being a teacher. Unlike what my friend said about me, it's really not my thing. I don't care. I'd be happy just doing all kinds of different things. But this is my job, and I enjoy it. Let's see. Flex Pavilion question: do you have a link to U-Way thatched cottage notes? What? What is that? I don't even know what that is. Do I have a link? Why would I have a link to something I don't even know? What is that? Why? What is that a really? Am I wrong? Is that a really strange, off the wall question? Because you put it in quotes as though it's something that I made or did, or I have no idea what you're talking about. All right. Time Mad Dog's really getting off on talking to Atham Animist, which I can't do anything about, but it bugs me. Kim B, question: how does one get a spiritual name? Very good question. That is a fun question to ask. Well, how you get one is you get a Vedic astrological reading from either me or one of my apprentices. So you go to ThunderWizard.com. You go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. You get a reading from me or one of my apprentices there. And there's a very specific way to find a spiritual name. Now, anything can be a spiritual name for all different kinds of reasons, but I'll tell you, in fact, East Indian Hindu kids are born and given spiritual names. Like their given name is their spiritual name. And it's found when you look for where the moon is in your chart. So the moon will be sitting on a specific nakshatra and a specific section of a nakshatra. A nakshatra is a lunar mansion of stars. And there will be a syllable associated with that. And whatever that syllable is, that will be the first syllable of the name. So that's one way to do it. Another way, which I've chosen to do, which is I've taken the syllable for my rising sign. And the syllable for my rising sign, which is Magha, is it Magha 4? I think it's Magha Pada 4. The syllable for that is Ma. Now, my parents, they named me Michael, and they were pretty close. So what happens is whenever somebody speaks your spiritual name based on your moon, it stimulates your mind, which is not your intellect. It stimulates your moon, which is your emotional body, the body. It's hard because whenever you use the word mind or mental, people think it's the intellect or the brain, and it's not. The mind reflects the spirit. Meditation, so your meditative mind. So when somebody speaks the syllable that's associated with your meditative mind and sends it to you as though it's your name, then what ends up happening is that your moon, your mind, your meditative mind is stimulated, which will empower you to think more clearly, to meditate more clearly. It spiritually gives you power and good luck. And so all Hindu parents know, they'll know, when their child is born, they'll know exactly what the syllable is. And let's say that it's a little girl and she's born on whatever nakshatra is the La sound. Well, then they'll name her Lakshmi. And then as she grows up, people will say, "Hey, Lakshmi, close the door. Lakshmi, brush your teeth. Lakshmi, I love you. Lakshmi, what are you doing?" Every time they say that La syllable stimulates her moon, her mind, which means that she'll process her emotions more efficiently. Her meditative mind will be stimulated. And so that's why people get spiritual names. So if you go to astrology.thunderwizard.com, you can get, every one of my certified astrologers knows how to do this, and they can give you a name or the syllable, and you can come up with the name. People make up their own name if they want. So mine was Ma. My parents, not for my moon, for my ascendant. So your ascendant is your physical body. So I liked that because my parents called me Michael, which was sort of getting close to it. Because in English, we don't, the M-I sound is really me. And we don't say Michael, we say Michael. So it's, just by calling me Michael, people were calling me by the power syllable of my ascendant, which is my physical body. So I decided to ratchet that up one more level, and I had been given that name. Actually, a guru that I didn't want gave me that name. And also, one night, there was a woman I knew, and she said to me, just off the cuff, she said, "Your guides are going to talk to you tonight in your dream." And I said, "Yeah, right, whatever." And I remember when I was dreaming, this blonde-haired woman, just her face just sort of came in front of me, and very bright, happy, and she said, "Hi, Mahadeva," and it woke me up. She also called me one other name, which I can't remember, which was a Hebrew name. And I looked it up. I think it meant lion or something like that. But after going through some hardships in 2019, the end of 2019, I went through some really difficult, challenging times, and I wanted to empower myself. So I decided to look up what would bring me the most power, and I decided to go with Mahadeva. And as you can see, at 58 years of age, I am, one thing I definitely have is a strong physical body. So there you go. That's how you get a spiritual name. Those are two ways to get a spiritual name. And if you want, you can go to astrology.thunderwizard.com and get one of your own. All right, what else? Black Earth Productions question: have you ever considered traveling to Hawaii? I have considered it. Here's the thing about Hawaii. I can't say that I know all of it, but Hawaii is very, like the surfing, number one, the surfing in Hawaii is very crowded. The vibe there is very xenophobic. So here's the thing about surfers. Surfers can be real dicks. Where I grew up, there was so much localism that, I kid you not, if you drove into, where I grew up, they would smash your windows and slice your tires and beat you up, steal your clothes, steal your food. One guy made it in the news. It was some lawyer went down and tried to surf where I grew up, and they broke his ribs. Surfers do that all the time. That happens all the time in Hawaii. But it's also now just so overcrowded. And on top of that, the locals, like local people they like tourists to come and spend their money, but they don't want you to live there. So since I don't know anybody there, and I remember, I went there when I was like 20 and I surfed, and I remember just getting hassled, and I just don't like that crap. That's what I loved about where I was in Australia. Where I was, there were so few surfers that anybody you came across was friendly to you. And I could walk down the beach and find perfect waves and have them all to myself. I could surf for hours with nobody around me. It's the freedom. That's what I'm looking for. So have I thought about Hawaii? Yeah, but not. You understand why. I'm too old for that. I don't want to drag myself through that trying to find it. But I don't know. If somebody were to invite me, if I knew somebody that said come, and maybe I'd go check it out. But I don't know. I haven't ruled anything out yet. Atham Animist follow-up. Yes, I suppose it was a trance state, but I felt as if I was high. Yeah, that's why I do the spirit fighting, in case anybody wants to know. I do this stuff because it gets me higher than any drug I've ever taken. It gets me so freaking buzzed, and it feels so good. And there's no downside. The only downside is, like, if I were to do this, for a couple hours straight, I wouldn't be able to get out of bed in the morning. Not because I was in pain, but just because I would be buzzing, and I would be in such a deep state, and my aura would be, trying to fill itself back up with energy, that I would be just like, ah. That's the only downside. But then you take a few breaths, and then you're walking around and you feel kind of loopy, but it's like you can see. And I remember when I was doing this, every day, and when I was training really hard back in my 20s, and I was having all kinds of crazy experiences. And I remember just walking down the street and just being able to see, not so much with my eyes, but I could see into people's aura. And I knew where their weak spots in their body was energetically, and I could feel as they walked by, I could feel what their unconscious issues were. And it was a kind of scary power. If I had chosen to, I would have been able to say, you've got this problem going on, and you need to do this, and you need to start taking more vitamin C. And so that's the downside of that, but that's why I do it, because it gets me high. So guys, if you want to check that out, go to the Warrior 90-Day Challenge, Lightning Qigong, and get started. Or if you want to just go to this, you can go do that. That's my experience with it. All kinds of other stuff will happen, and you'll have to hold on to your emotional shorts, but you will get some of those physical experiences. Gottlieb Speck, the Big Trip question: do you have an opinion on why people are being so bizarre right now? So I don't know what that means. People in general, the world. Do I have an opinion? I mean, be specific. What do you mean by bizarre? If we're talking about, generally speaking, if you're tapping into the same thing I am, it's because we have a globalist corporatocracy that runs the drug companies, the governments of the world, and all of the media, and all of everything around you, and they're trying to completely take your freedom away and poison you, and all kinds of other crazy stuff, and people are in shock. This whole COVID thing, which is real, COVID is a real thing, but anyway, I better shut up now because I'll get deplatformed. That's why. What other reasons, I don't know. Mr. Cheeto's question: thoughts on, why are people asking me thoughts on stuff? Please ask me a specific question. What are your thoughts on Jeep Grand Cherokees? Oh, they're a car. That's my thought on that. You have a specific question. You say, Brahmacharya celibacy. Also, is that the only way to open Shushumna? No. I'm going to answer that question even though I wish it was more specific. I was celibate for 6.5 years while I was doing this stuff. It did empower me. I also had specific techniques. I personally don't think that people should waste their time on celibacy. I think that if you need to stay away from porn, if you want to be single and not be in a relationship, but you have to be human. And unless you have a teacher that can teach you the techniques to safely not have any release, you should be a human. You should take a dump when you need to. You should take a piss when you need to. You should sexually release when you need to, so that then you can go back and meditate. I don't believe that. I think that it's far overrated unless somebody knows exactly what they're doing, and then only if you have a practice that gives you power. I do. So I had a practice that gave me more power than any other spiritual practice I've ever seen on the planet. And I had a specific technique, a very simple technique, so that I was never sexually stimulated. In fact, the energy then started, without me having to do anything, started moving up the spine. When I decided to break my celibacy, I actually had to meditate and shift the energy back down again. If that isn't something that happens, don't mess around with it. Most of the people who are celibate, in my opinion, are accomplishing nothing, and in fact, many are harming themselves. The people who want to do this really crazy self-stimulation thing, they call it Tantra. And by the way, there is no such teaching of Tantra that has to do with playing around with your sexuality. Tantra means technique. So when you go, if you're in India and you say, I want to train with a tantric guru, they're going to take you to somebody who's going to teach you how to do a ritual and a mantra. And you'll go, oh, no, I wanted to learn that sexual stuff. And they're going to look at you like, what the hell are you talking about? Tantra has to do with, it's basically magic. It's ritual, shamanic ritual that is very powerful. And you have to follow certain rules and regulations. One of them is being celibate. So you will have tantric practitioners who, when they have sex, they won't achieve orgasm. But during that, they're not getting turned on sexually. They're thinking about their deity and they're doing all kinds of stuff. Most people don't have that kind of scenario. The vast majority of people who call themselves tantric this and tantric that, they're just playing with their energy. And they're using sexuality to stimulate their energy and play around with it. Maybe they're doing stuff, maybe they're not. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having sensual, spiritual, energetic sex where you're appreciating each other and moving each other's energy, but that's not Tantra. It never was. And again, anybody, usually the people who say it, they're going to be white people somewhere in the Western world saying, yeah, I'm a tantric. They have no idea what they're talking about. It's a lot of fun, but there are people who think they're celibate, and what they do is they stimulate themselves to have, they get themselves turned on, and then they bring themselves, close to climax, and then they deny it. And they think that somehow that's going to, I understand because I experimented with that stuff. And all it does is it heats you up. And then those fluids now are heated up. They're no good. So it's like taking food and putting it in the microwave and heating it up in the microwave over and over again and then not eating it. It just goes bad. It's ruined. You can't eat it anymore. So if you do that to your energy, you're just destroying it. That's why you should release when it gets bad. And if you can be celibate where you literally don't have any sexual desire because you've figured out how to make the energy go up your spine and it's doing it on its own. If you can't do that, don't waste your time. You want my thoughts? Those are my thoughts. And you said, is that the only way to open Sushumna? No, it's not. What else? Flux Pavilion question. If you want to open the Sushumna, here, do this. Go onto my channel and look for the Heaven, Earth, Qigong meditation. Or I think it's also called the Tir Hole meditation. That will open up your Sushumna and you won't have to do any of that crazy, stupid nonsense. Celeb Spears question, you mentioned Wim Hof breath helping. When did I do that? I may have. But, I had heard about Wim Hof for a long time, and I thought it was more complicated than it is. It's really simple. I was doing it all the time. I do it when I do this stuff. There's a meditation called what is it? Something of the three ones. I don't know why I'm so loopy today. There are three ones meditation where you do basically versions of the Wim Hof breath. I love it. It's great stuff. I just thought it was more complicated than that. But you ask me, is it possible? No. What? No, I missed a question. I'll go back to it. Question, you mentioned Wim Hof breathing helping or working well with the lightning Qigong practice. Is there a benefit to doing the cold thermal practice too? I don't do that, so I don't know. I can't give an answer about something I don't know anything about. I don't know. Experiment and let us know. Flux Pavilion above that says, is it possible to use the Akashic records to view ancient texts that were lost? So Flux Pavilion, you've been on my channel for a while, right? It makes me want to ask you, have you done or are you doing any of my meditations? Have you read any of my books? I have never once, to my knowledge, ever talked about Akashic records. I don't disbelieve in them. It's just not something I've ever talked about. I can't answer. This is why, look, this is why, guys, when you ask me questions about stuff I've never taught, it's offensive because it means you're not spending the time to read and watch what I do teach. It means you don't know what I teach. You know, again, it's coming into class and the class is, applied electronics, and you raise your hand and you say, so was Shakespeare a real person? The guy's like, I don't know. I don't teach that. Ask me about something I teach. I can help you with that. Don't distract us with something that it's great that you're interested in that, but to my knowledge, I've never once talked about that. If I'm wrong, bring it to my attention. Caleb Spears, question. Oh, no, I already answered that. Kim, very interesting. Thundra, good evening. Okay, I've already said. Yeah, I've already. So if you don't remember Thundra, maybe you were you here? You have to rewind it and watch. I gave you, I talked about your comment and I gave you a plug already. So I hope you get some. By the way, anybody wants me to plug them on my live stream, go to lockdown.thunderwizard.com. And if you pass the very simple test, I will give you a .thunderwizard.com website, and I will promote you every time you come on the live stream and say hello. And you can, if you want to make a business out of doing astrology readings or rune readings, you can. Okay, very good. So is that it? I don't see any other questions. I'm getting tired, so I guess that's it. All right, guys, thank you again. As always, my apologies if anything I've said was hurtful or offensive, or if I disappointed you because I didn't respond the way you wanted. That's just my thing. I'm doing my best. I am trying to be as authentic and real and helpful. You know, one last thing. You know, my main goal really is to be as helpful as I can be. And if I think that you're going down a wasted path, I'm going to tell you. I'm more interested in helping you than in making you like me. I'm more interested in helping you than in making you feel good. Ultimately, I want you to feel good, but it's because you're doing the thing that's most empowering to you. So that's really behind, all of my snarky, pulling your pants down in front of the world, responses to questions and comments. I'm doing my best to be more compassionate as I learn how to do it, but I'm still me. And at Vedic Astrologers, you can look at my 10th house Aruda and you'll understand why. All right, so I hope you guys are all doing well, and I wish you all the best. And if you haven't gotten Omicron yet, you probably will, and I recommend that you go to a website, COVID19criticalcare.com. That's COVID19criticalcare.com, and click around until you find the protocols, so you know what herbs and what vitamins and what off-label prescriptions you can take to protect yourself. I had I'm unjabbed, and I had uh, Omicron, and I had all that stuff, and I had no sore throat. I had no cough. I did have fever and felt what do you call it? Felt the fatigue, but I didn't have. I've seen other people who got Omicron and they got it really bad. I mean, they didn't go to the hospital, but they were really sick and coughing and really, unhappy. So I recommend that, so that you don't have to go through that. And hopefully we'll be done with this nonsense, maybe in the next month or two. I hope so. All right, that's it. I'm all done. I wish y'all guys all the best. Take care. I thank you everybody for the questions about. Keep giving me suggestions on where I might move to. And I'm really starting to think about if I stay here, maybe for another 6 months. If I stay here, maybe I will do um, some live classes in various things, including this stuff. So yeah, meditate on that if that's something that you want, and because if there's enough people, I'll do it. But meditate, because lots of times when you guys meditate on something, I end up doing it. All right. So that's it. I wish you guys all the best. I'll see you all real soon. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Let me move that up there. All right. See you later.